Yes, welcome to the channel. I just had my friend Jeremiah here today just to have a couple of discussions around the new Shang-Chi film, in terms of what we thought about it, different ideas, different themes, and just generally how it fits into the Marvel universe. This is going to be just a quick kind of chat, just to kind of shoot some ideas and just get some opinions. But yeah, I suppose Jeremiah, if you want to introduce yourself as well.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's me, Jeremiah. You always have to do that thing.
That is legendary.
Yeah.
That is legendary. It really is. It really is.
I do movie reviews, gameplay, commentary, and TV reaction. So, Tayo. That's what you call it, Tayo or Tayo.
Tayo, yeah, don't worry about that.
So,
And just for context, this guy's obviously the biggest Marvel fan. He's got lots of knowledge, so it'll be really good to kind of get into some of his thoughts and how it's all going to kind of come together today. So yeah, obviously thanks for joining. I think one of the first things I wanted to ask, just about the film first. I suppose generally the film was pretty good, from my perspective anyway. I thought it was interesting. I had some really cool ideas. There were definitely some parts to it that I thought were actually top notch in terms of Marvel films that we've seen so far. I just wanted to ask you, I suppose, Shang-Chi and the Legends of the Ten Rings, what about it stood out to you the most?
I think I like the main character. I like the chemistry between Simu Liu and Aquafina, Shang-Chi and his friends. Their chemistry is really good. And actually, Aquafina, I was fearing she might deter the film, but she was like a great addition. It's like, Simon Pegg in Mission Impossible films.
Yeah.
Like he fits in perfectly. He enhances the film. That's what I felt about Aquafina. The fight scenes is the best. It's the best all over Marvel films. It's like one doubt the best. The CGI and the mythology is really good as well. But like apart from the first fight and like towards the end, it kind of teeters off for me. So
okay, yeah, no, that's really interesting. I think yeah, I can agree with most of those points. I think
here we go.
no, genuinely. We normally don't see eye to eye on these kind of films. I think when we've talked about things in the past, like Superman and some of those other Marvel films where we kind of had a couple of disagreements, but I think generally with this one, I think we do agree for the most part. I tended to find that this film was really cool. In terms of some of the key things that stood out to me. I think number one, as you said, the fight scenes. I thought those are really, really good. And I definitely agree that they're the best that we've seen in Marvel so far. It's just in terms of editing, from shot to shot, in terms of seeing more than just one like arm lunge, then being cut 3 times, then stop, and then you start to lose perspective of the fights. I thought they were fantastic. I really thought the choreography was good as well. I think just obviously given the fact it's a martial arts film, it kind of had a little bit of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon kind of vibe.
Yeah, it did. Like I watched Crouching Tiger before watching this film, and and Michelle Yeoh is actually in Crouching Tiger as well, so it's actually really interesting.
Oh wow!
And
she fits that kind of.
Once I watch both of those movies, they the fight scene feels like a dance in a way, especially when the two Asian fighters fighting each other, which is really interesting.
Yeah, and I think that really takes a lot from proper martial arts films where that is kind of the way it is. They kind of set things out as a bit of a dance, particularly even from a romantic perspective. So that when the father and the mother first met, and they were fighting essentially, but it kind of played out as a bit more of a spiritual kind of energy mix of and dancing and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, really, exactly.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
And I think it also helps that Chris Evans, he's not like a action stunt man. Similarly, he's a stunt man. He's a qualified stunt man. He knows a bit of martial arts. So it does help when you have an actor doing those action roles. You don't need to edit and cut so much. Yeah. There's also people around him also known for action and stunts as well.
Yeah. And
his father, he was Ip Man in one of the biography Ip Man films. So
Oh,
when
cool.
we get to the Mandarin soon.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I agree with you. I think the way Sean kind of fits the profile was good in terms of them like fitting organically into the film, given the fact it's martial arts. So yeah, I think that was a really really good addition. Well, I suppose kind of moving on to a little bit deeper. What did you think of the actual story? In terms of the story, the plot of the film, how it kind of, I suppose, enhanced the Marvel universe. Did it change it? Was it its own thing? How did you kind of?
I think it enhanced the Marvel universe because other than Black Widow, which we know the ending, and apart from like we know the ending and the post credit scene afterwards, this one shows actual progression after, apart from like Spider-Man, the Far From Home Spider-Man. This is the only movie that shows after what happens next. So I liked that for that part. The story was all right. That's what, like I said, I loved the beginning, how they set up why he came to the US from leaving his father, and why is the father so hard on him and everything. But like I said, towards the end, it just came just all like fighting, people fighting through, and it lost its pacing towards the middle to the end,
Mm,
basically. Like it felt like a different movie, like towards the end,
mm,
basically.
yeah, yeah, I can agree with that. I I kind of came into the movie with a bit of a, I'm not going to say bias, but I think it's something that we all have to kind of fight, in terms of the way these Marvel movies are playing out. A lot of them in the past have been interconnected, and they've always had like, different, there's a callback to Thor here and a callback to Hulk there, and they've all kind of been part of their own. And I think
Yeah.
once Phase 4 started, you kind of have to get into the mindset of, okay, that is in the past. That's no longer what we're trying to look at. We're trying to look at a new vision with new characters. And I thought I found that quite hard to understand about the story. Um, it was easy to kind of like look at it and be like, okay, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. He's, suddenly it was like he was suddenly a martial artist. When they started fighting on the train, in my head, I was like, okay, he's gonna get his ass kicked by these guys who come up to fight him. He just, beat the shit out of all of them.
Hey,
Yeah, and he just beat the shit out of all of them. I thought I thought the story was good. I think, I thought it was pretty straightforward, to be honest. I thought it was quite a standard A to B kind of story.
mhm.
He's got the plucky mate. He's got, the comic relief characters. His tensions with his dad. His mother died. It's got all those really common ideas in there, but it still played out as quite a satisfying story. Particularly towards the end with a little bit of reconciliation between the dad and the son. But I thought it was good. I thought it was standard for Marvel, but all the other stuff around it kind of made it a lot better.
Okay. Okay. It's not like I hate the film exactly. I think it was good. Like I really wanted it to be great, basically, because I love Asian cinema.
Mm,
I was a massive Asian cinema fan was as a child. I watched his like Sammo Hong, Jackie Chan, Jet Li.
mm,
So it's not as if I hate the film. I think it's okay, but I think it could have done better.
yeah, understandable. Okay, so on Shang-Chi himself, and obviously I think we kind of touched on this briefly, but just to dig in a little bit deeper, how well do you think it fits the new phase of Marvel?
I think it brings us something different. Like you guess you have this diversity thing, but Shang-Chi's a known novel character. Like not towards us, mainstream or comic book fans, he's a known character. So he brings a different aspect. And I think it's good to have like the mystical Asian elements into it, just to give with more far reaching, except for the standard guy Iron Man or Captain America for we did have a bit of it with Black Panther. So it was just like it feels like a breath of fresh air at times.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I tended to think that it fit. It's a bit of a contradiction. It almost felt like when I was watching it, it wasn't a Marvel film. It felt like it was almost,
Until the comedy.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, until you get the classic Marvel quips and stuff. Um, but it didn't actually feel like a Marvel film for a lot of it. It felt like its own self-contained universe, which was quite interesting. I tend to think a lot of, what I was just talking about in terms of, you kind of expect a lot of interconnecting from this movie to that movie. there wasn't really that in this film, which is quite nice to see. I thought that there were some subtle callbacks, you know, with Ben Kingsley reprising his role as the Mandarin.
We're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that
Yeah.
later.
Yeah, I thought there was some subtle callbacks, but generally I thought it was its own thing. So in a weird way, it kind of hasn't for me fit into the Marvel universe just yet. It'll be interesting to see how they it'll be interesting to see how they develop that with some of the future films. At this point in time, I feel like it's just, you know, I feel like it was its own martial arts Marvel movie. Marshall say that 10 times. But yeah, no, definitely. I think it was. I thought it was good, but yeah, it was its own thing. In terms of the, I suppose, main antagonist of the film, the dad. Let's talk about the dad. What did you feel about him? What did you feel, you know, in relation to his motivations, his relationship with the kid, you know, with the kids?
Like I watched the trailers, and like the way they shot him, like he's like really imposing, really like it was like it almost builds him up to a Darth Vader in a way, but the execution was not fully committed. That's what I felt basically. So in one of the trailers, they say like you just kill and harm people, and the dad said, "Watch how you speak to me, boy." He's like. Oof. Like imagine, like it's like we're Africans, so like we're Africans,
like African vibes. God of War.
Yeah, exactly. So like I felt like we going to see that, and it did happen in some cases in the film, which like remember that Asian guy say like you don't have no business here, and the father said, watch your tongue, young man." It's like ooh.
Yeah.
But besides that, and action. But besides that, sometimes he whips Shang, he beats up Shang-Chi badly. We didn't get more of that. And that's my problem because the actor who plays his dad, he's a major like Asian actor from China. He's like the Brad Pitt of China. So really I felt he's a bit wasted. And also he did the Mandarin again. And that's the first time you made it a joke. I didn't really care for the Mandarin for Iron Man 3 because I'm not like I don't know Iron Man that much. But when you bring someone high profile and trying to reconcile with the fans again, like this is a true Mandarin. This is a guy who kidnapped Tony Stark to overthrow governments and everything. But the execution of it was just not somehow. And I know you're trying to make it more human in a way, but that takes away the mystique of the character.
Yeah, I kind of see that, you know. Yeah, basing, you know, some of the Mandarin events we've got in the movies, and then kind of tying it back to something that's now. I feel that something that was now like, you know, the guy was like 5,000 years old or something. It did kind of make it seem a bit like the actual Mandarin attacks. It did kind of dwarf them. The stuff that we'd seen in Iron Man 3, it makes it seem kind of silly, doesn't it? Like
exactly.
So it does make it seem kind of silly. Yeah, I can get on board with that for sure.
Sometimes like if you play your cards right, you have a Darth Vader level villain right there. But that's my problem with these Marvel. Sometimes we Disney Marvel.
He got killed after
scared to go extra mile.
He got killed after.
Not just that, like
it's more of a Darth Maul vibe.
Yeah, exactly. So like you have amazing character and amazing actor, but you don't utilize them. And sometimes like sometimes you have to feel sympathy for the villain. But the Joker, you don't feel sympathy because he's just plain evil. Or Vader was really a badass before we knew he was the father. He was still beating Luke in the third original Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
It's only the prequels were made him more human. So that, like, to me, it just takes off the mystique of the character. It just feels like it's a shame.
Yeah, no, I actually do agree with you again. This is weird actually because we're agreeing on a lot more things than we normally have to do about any of these films. But I do agree with you again. Actually, yeah, I think it could have been a lot. They could have built up to a bit more, or maybe let it amount to a bit more than it actually ended up doing. And I agree that I think some of the effects on some of the other films as well is a little bit negative, which is a bit of a shame. but I thought it was good. I thought as an antagonist he was good. He was pretty typical
Yeah,
for what you'd expect. You know, yeah, it was so typical for what you'd expect. Really, it's particularly from that kind of film. There's often like father son hostility, and that kind of thing is pretty standard. I was actually kind of hoping there'd be a bit of a switcheroo somewhere in the film that the dad wasn't the actual antagonist, and that kind of was the case by the very end. But
yeah.
yeah, I thought it was a good antagonist. I thought he was threatening and domineering. I liked watching him kick the shit out of people with those rings, especially in like that.
Even without the ring,
Yeah,
he was imposing.
particularly with the olden days as well. I thought that was really cool. And yeah, he clapped his son about quite a few times, didn't he? I think at the end, it was quite nice to see a bit of reconciliation, as I mentioned before. They kind of not buried the hatchet, but he handed his son the rings after how many thousands of years, and then had his soul snatched. But yeah, I thought he was good. I thought he was a good protagonist. I'm sorry, antagonist. I thought they could have done, but I do think they could have done a little bit extra around it, maybe to build it up a bit more. But again, he was killed in the same movie, so I guess was there that much point in doing that kind of thing?
Yeah.
So I suppose kind of building on the relationship with the dad. What did you think about the general relationships in the film, or maybe I suppose more specifically the characters in the film and how they kind of interact with each other, how they drove each other, motivations, etc., etc.
Well, with similar like a thing, I like that chemistry. Like they actually really fit well. Like I said, them being together was like to me made the film for me. And like when he went to his like her house and mom said, "Well, you should get married," basically. And I was like, it feels more organic based like that. Him and his sister is more like I can relate to that because me and my sister have this love-hate relationship. So, and when she played dirty, so it was really funny when they fight in the cage match. So I found that interesting. So the relationship between all of them, between all the characters, was really really good.
Yeah. I don't think the relationships were as strong as I thought they could have been.
Okay.
I think that particularly for example, starting with that his friend Katie, I can't remember the actress who plays her, but she kind of looked like she would annoy me. Like I thought she was going to annoy me like a lot in the film. I think thankfully she didn't. I think she wasn't. She was actually quite funny at times, and I think the thing I liked about the most is that they were just friends. Like at the end, they didn't get together. They didn't do any hanky panky. They were just friends the whole time. It's true. It's true. So like you expect when you have films like that, you kind of expect like, oh, there's gonna be some romantic tension. Remember what they did with what do you call it, Black Widow and Hulk? Remember that? Remember that shit?
Yeah, I hated that.
They always feel like they need to do that, so I'm glad they didn't do that this time. I didn't think they needed to, and I'm glad they didn't. They're just friends, which was cool. She was along for the ride, and I thought she was fine. Funny sometimes, not as funny other times. When she said that, when he said his name, he changed his name from Shang to Sean, and she was like, "No wonder you're that family." That was pretty funny. She had a moment. She did have a moment.
Yeah.
I thought they were okay. I think the relationship between him and his mum was a bit. Obviously, it was steeped in mystery for a lot of the film, or not mystery, but like there were some untold elements until pretty much the end of the film. I thought it could have been explained a little bit better. Some of the flashbacks were a bit confusing at times, and I think him and his sister, again, it was okay, but a lot of it is very run of the mill. A lot of it is just pretty standard from what I'd expect. Their relationships were, the mother's nice, the dad's evil, fights the dad, mum dies. A lot of that's I feel been trodden before. But again, it's a Marvel film. I'm not expecting to, remake the wheel here. But I thought they were good. I thought some of them were good. But if I was rating it on a number with 6 being average, I'd probably give it like a 5.5, like just below average, just because it was so standard. Not that any of them were terrible, but I thought they were so to be honest. I think him and Katie had the best relationship, and that was the character I thought I'd like the least. So it speaks levels about it. I mean, protagonist wise, what did you like the most about Shang?
Well, like the actor is charismatic, and we know he can hold his own action. But we didn't see much in him in terms of like a personality. Like he he didn't hold his own, grab his own movie. He was supported by different people. You can understand. Like, okay, let me give you an example. Black Panther. In Civil War, Black Panther was a badass. But in his own movie, he was felt like he was somehow underrated in his own movie, even though you have a great actor. Maybe because you have great actors alongside with him and a really good villain. With this movie, you have a good actress. He's kind of charming as well, charismatic. But I think he's just surrounded with other people where doesn't have his time to shine. And I think he can do really well.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. I think, yeah, I can see that. Why are we agreeing on so much stuff today? You don't normally make this many good points. This is not
No.
Jeremiah. This isn't actually Jeremiah. No, again, yeah, I kind of agree with you. Yeah, I can agree with you. I think that he was pretty funny, he himself, but there was, again, maybe due to the fact that there's so much new stuff being thrown at us, he didn't have a lot of time for him to do his thing. When he was like quipping and stuff, he was pretty funny, again, charismatic. His motivations again made sense, but there wasn't huge amounts of time to explore it. I think it's because he's such a new character and we're being shown a completely new cast. They just don't have a lot of time to dedicate to the main character.
Yeah, but like, let's say for example, Doctor Strange. You have a really good actor, Benedict Cumberbatch. You can't argue he's a good actor.
Yeah, he is 100%. Sherlock's one of my favorite series ever.
Yeah, but you also have great actors around him, but he still hold the movie on his own in a way. And you see him in over Avengers movies, like he's sometimes a standout.
Yeah,
I just don't.
that's a good point. That's a good point. Like in Doctor Strange, I remember the first maybe like hour, not hour, maybe first half an hour. You know, when he breaks his hands or whatever, and he goes to the temple. There's a lot of characterization moments in there, but I think it's because Doctor Strange is largely alone. Is in when he was doing.
No, because you had Mordo, you had Wong, you had the Asian one.
No, I mean in the early stages of the first Doctor Strange film. When a lot of his characterization's going down and you're learning more about what he's like and he's a bit of an arsehole and he's a bit snide. I think he had a lot of time to shine and grab their own movie because he was alone. I don't recall Sean being alone for huge amounts of time. And since the film is largely like martial arts, when they're not showing martial arts, it's actually, it can be pretty dull. There was a point before the big final fight where it was like maybe half an hour of no fighting, and I remember it being a little bit boring because there's just loads of flashbacks and stuff. So yeah, I think maybe he needs a second film to be able to really give him the time he needs to do his own thing and maybe have an ending where, you know, his friend isn't there the whole time. And yeah, when you actually deep it, because near the climax of the movie, you've got a bunch of people who, to be honest, aren't that relevant to the actual story, but they're just tagging along for the ride, and they're taking up screen time. So Katie is kind of one of them. Ben Kingsley is the other one. The digital Furby thing or whatever that was. What was that? Remember, what was his name? Montague or something? What was his name?
Norris or something like that.
Yeah. He was there cracking jokes, even like moving like an R2D2, to be honest. So yeah, maybe that's all it needs. Maybe that's all it needs, to be honest. But yeah, no, I thought Sean was pretty good. Okay, best moment in the movie. Nice, straightforward, simple one.
The bus.
The bus.
The bus.
They talk about the bus fight?
Yeah, the bus fight.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Like,
yeah, I would go with the train fight just because I love the camera work on that. And I remember when they held the outside of the train shot and you could still see them fighting inside. That probably stuck it. That's when I was like, okay, this film's gonna be pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, straightforward, simple. Those ones are really, really nice. Ones you'd love to see. Tricky one. and it's not tricky for me because I'm always like this, but tricky for you because I know you love Marvel films. So, what didn't you like about the movie?
Well, Trevor, I felt it was just it's like okay, you called him. He was a bit of a joke in Iron Man 3, and you rectified it in one shot. Then you bring him back to be a joke again, and that's when the movie turned into a different movie. Okay, like okay, we need to make a Marvel film. Let's make a new one. Let's bring Trevor back. Each time he's just found him annoying. Like he was talking to a mystical being, to giving them directions. Like there's some things I'll allow. I'll allow a talking tree, but this is just
So Groot gets the tick, but Morris doesn't.
no.
Yeah, no, understandable. I would say that he got worse as he went on, if that makes sense. So at first, when he was first introduced, I actually thought it was hilarious. I thought he was really funny, and I was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe they brought him back." And then by the end of it, he's just been there too long. At the end, like he's just like, pretending to be dead and stuff. It's just a bit. He just overstayed his welcome for me.
You know the funny bit, Paul, when they show him like dead, and like my friend say he's not dead, and he show his face. When he show his face, like he show how predictable this is. So
exactly, yeah, exactly that. Yeah, no, I think that's probably the thing I think the middle part of the film where there wasn't any fighting, I probably disliked more than that, to be honest.
okay.
I just thought that without fights, I was quite bored a lot of the time because I think a lot of again, when we talk about relationships and characterization, these flashbacks started to get on my nerves. To be quite frank, yeah, they started to get on my nerves, and it made the movie drag a bit in like the third quarter of the film, I'd call it. First half was great, third quarter was quite boring, and the last quarter was good. I think that's probably what I didn't like the most. I think everything else was passable, if not good, to be honest. So okay, we've had a long discussion about the film, about the themes. I'm going to ask you, Jeremiah, what would you rate the movie out of 10? Go. Oh, should we do 5 being average or 6 being average? I watched the United Stands. Let's go with 6 being average. 6 is average because a film should be good. It should be good. You shouldn't be going there to watch bad films. So let's say the film is good at a 6. Good being average, though.
I'm torn. Like film's only being average and good. Like
pick a number.
In the beginning, I was at 7.5, but now it's like around 6.7.
6.7.
Yeah.
Oh my god, the specificity. 6.7.
It's some elements.
That's a 6.7. Yeah, I mean, you've gone pure IMDb there. You've actually gone like beyond the 0.5. You've actually really narrowed it down. I would give the film. I'd give it a 7. I thought it was good. I think it had a lot of stuff going against it in terms of the characters and I suppose the fact that it's new to the, obviously not new to the franchise, but new from like a movie perspective. Trying to get loads of new people to watch it would be quite difficult. So they had lots of stuff to balance. I thought it was good. I'd give it a 7. And I think the fight scenes were really good. I'd give the fight scenes like a 9. But the rest of the film was a bit average. I'd give it a 7.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not as if I hate the film. It's like films are like films I don't like that. There's scenes I like, but I don't like the film. But films I've enjoyed, but there's some scenes I don't like, but I still enjoy the film. So
yeah, for sure. Well, thank you. I think that wraps up our first session of Flickthoughts. Yeah, it has a name.
Flickthoughts.
Yeah, it has a name. It have a name. So yeah, I mean, obviously, thanks for joining, and thanks for discussing this film with me. I appreciate you having you, and yeah, hopefully we'll talk again soon.
Thanks for being here. Make sure you put us on your channel, mate.
For sure. I'm editing that out. Cool.